Nigeria LNG Limited CEO Dr. Mshelbila has raised concerns over gas supply disruptions due to insecurity, forcing NLNG to operate only 2 out of 6 trains. Pipeline vandalism and theft have impacted supply, preventing Nigeria from capitalizing on increased European LNG demand due to the Russia-Ukraine war. Meanwhile, the government's Decade of Gas initiative aims to boost domestic utilization and export with investments in LNG, CNG and gas-based industries by 2030. With just 5 years remaining, has the initiative delivered a meaningful impact? Well, Dr. Tolu Aderemi, Energy Practice Group, Perchstone and Graeys Solicitors joins me for more on this. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, so we have seen improvements in Nigeria's oil subsector. Can you say same for the gas subsector?
Well, I think marginally, yes, I can say there's been some level of improvement, particularly around 2022, 2023. If we zero it down to the LNG, I think I can say the same for that. It's shameful, really, that in 2024, or tail end of 2024, and now we're experiencing what we're experiencing. And I think it will be good to take a trip down to what the foundational issues are. I'm quite surprised, really, that NLNG will be dealing with this sort of issue because at commencement, one of the key things they did was to preempt that this was going to happen. And that determined the type of contracts that were awarded to safeguard those pipelines.
Interesting. Talking about these contracts, do they also involve advanced technology tools?
So now, yes, but at the onset, no. And I tell you what, so whilst technology is very good, it complements or makes us a bit more efficient, the structure or the model for the NLNG was that they awarded contracts on surveillance as well as contracts on grass cutting. Now, those might look very, very basic and but it worked. And so for many years, NLNG has been up running about 25 years. And they've been around for about 30 years. This is about one of the few times you've heard the MD of the company really come out, to complain. And why has that been the case? Over 25 years, those contracts were awarded to families as opposed to contractors, as opposed to, I don't want to mention any contractor's name, but as opposed to contractors who got awarded those contracts from Abuja. Now, what happens with this is, and it happens also with upstream projects. So when you're dealing with this sort of communal or commonwealth asset, you deal with the people. Now, there must be a structure by which you deal with the people, but let the people feel the transaction. And so why those contracts were awarded to families was because if anything happens to the pipelines that passes through your own area, then if there's a damage to it, you don't get paid for anything. And so without any prompting, those families ensured, one, they fulfill the terms of the grass cutting contract.
So what has changed?
I thought I just told you what has changed. The contracts are now being awarded to contractors. And those contractors, to my mind, will not let that trickle down to the real families who are handling it. And maybe I can just give you an example. When NLNG was going to come upstream, it occasioned the displacement of about 350 families. And those 350 families were resettled in a place called New Finima in Bonny Island. Of the 350 families, if I recall, only about 70 families were duly compensated. Now, what do you expect to the remaining 270 or 280 families? Now, they may have been indirectly compensated, but they have children who will have been 25 years old or 30 years old now, and who will wake up and say, look, you know what is all these disruptions? This is our commonwealth. And many of our people have not even educated their children or community as to the real ownership right in the Petroleum Act. So like in America, most of the people who live in the Niger Delta still believe the oil belongs to them. So there are many perennial issues which I believe government must go back, particularly for NLNG. And I'm I like this topic, and which was why I thought it was good for me to join you. NLNG is one of our flagship successful projects, either because of corporate structuring, of how we came up, either because of the way it's been raising money, or how it's also been able to impact the larger market. And I see you talk about Ukraine, Russia. Any sensible, any right-thinking government, this is about the time when you want to take advantage of the 17.5 million tons that is bought from Russia for the EU. So if we don't have any market at all, you have 17.5 million tons that we can quickly access. What are we doing about it? Why are we letting whatever is happening in the Bonny Island make us lose 17.5 million tons? We're leaving the African market. We're going international. But anyway, let me leave it at that for now.
Well, you need to take it up from there because we need to know what to do moving forward. How do we address this? I mean, because we need to tap into that market.
So I think what we should start with is a carrot and stick approach. Now, for me, the carrot approach will be, let's go back to these families.
We still need to go back to that.
We have to.
Okay.
Really? I mean, the truth of the matter is only. Can
there be a once and for all compensation, and then we move away from that?
It's difficult because it's a continuous process. There are pipelines. So imagine a pipeline running through your station here. Is what you have to look after every day. Now, technology.
So these pipelines that are no longer, in operation, what exactly happened to them?
No, they are still in operation. It's just that they have been vandalized.
Exactly.
Oh yes, they have been vandalized.
Only 2 trains are sort of working now, so that's what I
find that very, very. I mean, I don't know what adjective to use to qualify that. Out of 7 trains, but what is clear to me is that whatever model we're using is not working, and what model they were using before appears to be working. So let's go back to the surveillance contracts. Let's go back to the grass cutting contract, in addition to the use of technology. And so I'm not ruling away technology. No, that's not what I'm saying.
So what would technology do?
Oh, so there's technology that helps to detect vandalization. No, not detect, prevent vandalization. Also, and how does it prevent it? So imagine you have a pipe and crude oil is passing through that pipe. Now, maybe it's a 2-3 kilometer pipe. Once it can detect vandalization, maybe less than 1.5 kilometers, it will alert. And so because you're a government, you would have created alternative exits on your pipelines, and then you divert the crude oil into other areas. So that's what technology can do for you. There's a limit to technology, or to what technology can do. And that is why you still need human intervention.
I agree with you.
Those guys who will sit with the pipelines, because exactly they know that there's something they're earning from it. And I find it also strange that as government, I earn, I think annually, anywhere in the order of about $865 million from NLNG every year. And I'm thinking in my mind, if that is what I'm earning from this asset, and I'm the 49% holder, so I'm the majority shareholder, what is wrong with me? I'm not nationalizing it, but what stops me from characterizing it as a national infrastructure, such that I can now deploy proper security and devote it into it? Maybe I want to call them Marine Army, and this Marine Army will be permanently there 24 hours.
Can we take a leaf from other countries? What are they doing in this regard?
We don't, I mean, not to my knowledge, we don't seem to have our kind of problem in the other countries that I know. So, for example, Norway is one of our competitors. Algeria is one of our competitors. I am not aware, I'm not saying it's not happening there, but I'm not aware that this kind of problems is what they are dealing with. So ours is, look, in 1959, when all of this started, we weren't prepared for it. And many of us did not even understand what the commercial or economic value of crude oil or indeed gas was going to be to all of us. And so when the IOCs were signing the GMOUs with the communities, they did it, to my mind, in good faith. But when the community leaders started realizing how much money they were earning from it, I think somewhere along the line, greed crept into it. And then the monies was not trickling down to those that were really on site, those that were going into the subseas, those that were looking after the pipelines. But their children were now being sent abroad. The fences of their homes grew taller, and so you couldn't even see them anymore. When they drove outside, they started driving in SUVs, so you couldn't see them too. So you couldn't see their children, you couldn't see their homes, you couldn't see them in their cars. What did you think was going to happen? And then one security company came in, they gave that company the contract to start looking after those assets. Whatever became of that contract, I do not know. But I think your guess and mine is evident from what is happening with almost what we're losing with the NLNG. And I think it's preposterous, really, because now is about the best time any company. President Tinubu travels a lot to France. The 17.5 million tons of LNG that is purchased from Russia, most of it is consumed by France. So there's France, Germany, and Spain, but most of it is by France. And so what are you telling President Macron when you go to France? Because we already have deposits here of it.
And they're even asking for it, and the MD said that we don't have the supply. So, I mean, in 30 seconds, let's close on this. Yeah. How do we fill this gap and, do what we're supposed to do, supply the European market, and also ensure that we don't lack even, local or domestic supply?
Well, the answer is very simple. Let's go back to the grassroots, reignite the surveillance and grass cutting contracts. At the same time, government must, and I think many people have made that point, that we have to criminalize and create a capital punishment for anyone who is found destroying or vandalizing any of those assets. They're doing it in power sector, or the Minister of Power has suggested it. Why can't we do it in the oil? Particularly for LNG, we need to do it. Ghana is already becoming a competitor. If we're not very careful, Ghana is buying LNG today. Very soon it will become, a supplier of it if we're not very careful.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Tolu Aderemi, for coming on the show today and for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you very much.